Yep.
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to Eat This, Drink That. We got a unique episode today. We got Ollie switching up the view, and we're going to jump right in. We got Steve as well on beverages. My name's Ryan. And Ollie, what is your Eat This for today?
We're making Shrimp Creole. I'm diving right into the steps, and we can talk about the genesis of this. I'm super excited about this dish. I have to call it Cajun Creole classic, even though the version I went for is the Creole version, close to what you would get in New Orleans, except I'm in Austin. So starting off, I've got some shrimp about to fly out. I've got 2 tablespoons of butter, and I've got that melted, and what I'm looking for is for it to just turn like kind of caramel, kind of a light brown. Butter, as we know, can burn. It's the milk solids in there, but I do need it hot so I can stir off some shrimp. Speaking of, we're doing Shrimp Creole. I've got some Texas Gulf shrimp here. These are like the 20 count. So 20 of these is a pound. We're going to cook about a half a pound. The portion I'm making is a generous 2-person to 3-person. We're a family of 3, so I tend to try and cook in those numbers. So first thing I'm doing, and that butter is just giving me a really nice color. I'm going to grab some tongs so I don't have shrimp hands. And I'm just adding this shrimp in here. And I'm just cooking this for a minute or so each side. I'm just looking to get a little bit of color. Shrimp can cook very quickly. You can really easily overcook shrimp. So my strategy for this dish is to put the shrimp in the pan, get some color on it, and then pull it out as I build the rest of this dish. So Shrimp Creole, like if you've never been to New Orleans or, just haven't lived, is a Creole dish. It's from New Orleans. It is a dish that I think describes the vibe of the city, right? So it's an old city, as we know. A lot of immigration shaped the food scene there. This is one of those Cajun Creole dishes that has tomatoes. And some people will say, oh, what's the difference between Cajun and Creole? Creole is city food, New Orleans. Cajun is like country food, right? The word Cajun comes from the Acadians, the folks that were like the French persecuted people from Canada, and they ended up down there living in the swamp doing that accent that I've gotten in trouble for. So, yeah.
Hey, Ali, real quick on the shrimp. Are those in the shell?
So let's talk about that. So I will tell you, and obviously as I go, I'll tell you all the ingredients. Game changer, gentlemen, when I made this dish. And just so you know, just a little bit of color. I don't want to cook it through because I don't want to overcook it. These had the shells, and I had to peel and devein them. Okay? Now, it's always tricky when it's a weeknight and you're like, oh man, I got this shrimp, I got to peel and devein it. It's a problem. But here is why peeling and deveining shrimp is worth it. You make this, gentlemen, shrimp stock out of the shells. I found a great recipe. One of my favorite food sites is Spruce Eats. Literally, you brown the shells. You devein the shrimp, remove the shells, brown them, and then pour water. And I let it simmer for like 7 minutes. Strain it. And the whole time I was making it, I used a potato masher to squeeze, mash down on the shells to really get all the bits in there. But honestly, guys, it took freaking 10 minutes. I strained it. That's the game changer. That's the game changer. Awesome. So this shrimp has got color. I'm pulling it out. I'm putting it in a bowl to reserve, okay? So I know I can show you the pan, but what's really important with all this process is building the sauce, and you build the sauce by creating brown bits in the pan. These are it's kind of funny. I would eat this now. I mean, some people will be like, oh, but it's not cooked all the way through. So that's delicious. Freaking medium rare. So if you see in the pan, that is fond. That is fond. Yep. That's where we're going to get a lot of flavor. Speaking of flavor, Shrimp Creole is pretty much a dish with shrimp as the star protein. However, I love andouille sausage. So this is sliced andouille sausage.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm doing the same thing here. Smoked sausage is basically the kielbasa of New Orleans, right? Smoked sausage, this is cooked through. Bought it at the supermarket. When you're in Texas, you are close to Louisiana, so you'll actually find andouille. And this is actually a Texas andouille sausage.
Okay.
When you get east, like Houston, you'll see boudin on the menu, which is the famous Cajun sausage with rice in it and liver and pork.
Yeah.
The Cajun influence, it seeps across the border. Like the line between Louisiana and Texas, it ain't the frickin' wall, it's not the wall of China. You know what I'm saying? Like it spreads a bit. So we got the andouille in the pan. I wanted to add andouille. You don't need it. I wanted it. You just can kind of go in this direction. So this is what I discovered making this dish. Shrimp Creole, yes, it's a dish you see in restaurants, but it's not a dish that some chef invented. Like, no chef can just credit it, right? It's an old dish, but it's not from ancient times. And it is a dish that people in the homes of New Orleans make a lot, and they love it. And in my research from the Twitterverse, I got this book, Cooking Up a Storm. This is a book published by the Times Picayune. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I'm going to put this andouille. And by the way, like, this is what I'm doing. See that?
It says they made the book after Hurricane Katrina. That's interesting.
So what happened was a lot of folks lost their homes. And when they lost their homes, they lost their family recipe cookbooks. So the newspaper put together all the recipes they've been collecting over the years as a way to go, let's make sure this culinary history stays alive and well. So when I was
you're browning the sides of this sausage just like the shrimp, basically.
Yes, exactly. Okay. I'm adding color. And this is, the thing is like, the sausage should be hot. It'll get hot once we build the sauce. But this is about putting that brown on the pan, because that pan is where the sauce is being built from. So this was just super rad to get this kind of book, to understand and appreciate that a dish like this is so freaking beloved. You know what I mean? Huh. Like that. It's like fried chicken, man. Somebody's going to have, if you have like a parent from the South, they're going to be like, my mom's chicken's the best, and that's where I kind of like got so inspired about making this dish. There's so many versions out there. And then the big problem is, how do you know if it's authentic? So this book was a great jumping point. And also, I got to give credit where credit's due. There's a chef here in Austin, Nick Bellany. He's from Louisiana. Super talented chef. He's worked he's done super crazy fine dining. He had a game-changing taco truck. Anyways, he helped me guide through this dish.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So
that traditional cookbook that you have there from the paper in Louisiana, did it have andouille sausage in the recipe, or this is your addition?
Did not. So, and there was some deviation in here. For the most part, and even in the book's recipe, it says, think of the recipe they have as a baseline, and then change it as you like. I love that because it reminds me of my experience making curry. Like, there's no exact one way to make even the restaurant curries like chicken tikka masala. You can and should tweak it, right? So coming from a place like that, where I'm like, okay, there's room to play, like you can do the same here, and andouille makes sense. I don't think that's a insane ask. So
no,
look at that. That's what we wanted.
Yes,
we have all that shrimp browned off. The andouille got browned off. So I should mention this. I use this Tony Chachere Creole seasoning. I'm of a mixed mind with rubs. And while I explain this seasoning, we're going to get into the Trinity. Okay, so what this is chopped green onion, the white parts, putting about a quarter cup.
Hey, how hot's that pan, by the way? Just medium?
Right now I've got it on low, but it's also on my biggest burner. And it's funny you say that because I'm going to have to kick up the fan a little bit.
Have to kick up the fan.
This pan, the longer it sits, the less I have to keep the flame up. You know what I mean? I'm a believer in letting it heat up slowly because I think it's more even. So we're doing the Trinity. We got a quarter cup of green onion, a quarter cup of chopped celery, and a quarter cup of green pepper. The only deviation here is you sometimes they just use white onion, but this is the Trinity. This is the base for so many Cajun Creole dishes. This is their version of mirepoix. So in France,
I didn't know green pepper would be involved. That's cool.
That is Trinity. So that is literally Trinity right there. Green peppers are in there. So what we're doing right now.
Do you even bother with garlic?
Thank you. Steve Greer for the win, and we're actually adding garlic. But you know what? You just reminded me of something very important. Onions, green pepper, celery especially, a lot of water content, right? So what does that mean? They can cook longer. And what we want to do is get that water out. As the water leaches out from cooking, you get the actual intensity of the flavor. You eat a raw bell pepper, feels like, you're with Larry from the yoga class. It's very, very healthy. You eat a roasted pepper, red bell pepper, you're with Luigi, and you're talking about who's got the best hot, spicy Italian sausage. Like, the flavor change from cooking these things is dramatic.
Yeah.
So what I do want to do, and I did put the flame down a bit, what I'm trying to do here is, soften these vegetables, but also as that water leaches out, I'm going to get more flavor from here. And also, I'm starting to release fond. I'm starting to release those brown bits from the pan.
Yes.
Now, I will tell you this, the batter choice I used was butter. It felt right to me. If I used oil, canola, olive, sesame, I wouldn't use sesame. But I feel like oil will break the sauce. We're making a sauce. Like, end of the day, this is a freaking pan sauce. It's just a pan sauce. It's like chicken marsala. You know what I mean? Like, you brown the protein.
So it's not a full roux like etouffee. It's just a pan sauce.
Clarify. Very, 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 very
nice.
Smart man, he said. So there are dishes where you start with building a roux. So you melt butter, you whisk in flour until it basically is emulsified, right? And that would be the start to making gravy, I didn't do roux. I might consider it, but I was more interested in browning the proteins and getting the flavors of the seasoning out. This is just starting to soften and caramelize, and now I'm going to add the garlic that Steve reminded me of. I do add the garlic later. Yeah. Why? Garlic burns.
Okay, so that's good to know.
So you still have enough butter in there from the initial start. You don't have to add any more fat.
Great timing. This pan is getting a little dry. So you do want to eyeball it. I started with 2 tablespoons of butter. I never measure this much. I just kind of add it. That was like a scoop, not even quite a tablespoon.
That's a jar of butter, Ollie?
Yeah, we get groceries from Green Delivery. Yeah, it's
okay, right on. No, I usually see like ghee in a jar, not butter so much.
Well, ghee would be rad because that doesn't burn. Clarified butter would be great. So this is looking really nice color-wise. The peppers have really cooked down. I can show you that,
Nice.
There's a lot of delicious brown bits in there. I'm turning that pan down a bit. And now we're going to add tomatoes. This was one tomato on the vine. They're always usually the same size. I just coarsely chopped it, adding that in there. And again, adding tomato makes the Creole. Now, when you get that tomato in there, a lot of liquid's coming out. We're really getting that fond out. See, I'm taking my spoon, I'm scraping it.
I'm glad you scraped that little brown part. I saw a brown part kind of sitting there for too long. I'm glad you notched it out.
This thing is so freaking delicious. I have to tell you, I made this for the first time yesterday. I've had shrimp Creole for sure. I've spent a fair amount of time in New Orleans, a lot of it eating. Making it is a revelation. Making this was as much a revelation as making chicken tikka masala, which was an Indian curry that my mom never made. I always associated with the restaurant. Then you make it at home, you're like, hell yeah. Like, everyone should make this. It's not hard. This is very, very easy.
So, Ali, was the timing of the tomatoes, was that to add more water to the situation?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is I want to get those green peppers and celery really kind of cooked down and
cooked first. Yeah, those take longer.
I started with that. The tomatoes, what we're doing here, this is a great dish for a chatterbox like me, because I can, like, screw up, talk, have a drink, have a French 75. But as far as the tomatoes go, I'm just looking. They start to just, like, see that the skins get loose. That's when I know it's getting close to breaking down, right? And that's when I go for tomato number 2. What is this, you say? Whoa. These are canned tomatoes. So we did fresh tomato and canned tomato. This was a whole one of those Italian canned tomatoes. I grabbed 2 of them. It's probably like, I don't know, half cup's worth. And I crushed them with a spoon, actually. Try to do it with my hands.
Wow,
now I'm adding that in there as well.
Oh, okay. So the first ones was like a slice, just a straight up tomato.
Fresh tomato.
Fresh tomato, and then these are canned tomatoes.
Yes. And now I've added the canned tomato. Now, so now what I'm doing is this is basically the sauce right here.
That is looking so good.
Man, it's just amazing. Like, literally, just start with cooking with the Trinity. It'll change your mind. We're gonna add some of this seasoning. This is Creole seasoning. There's a bunch of stuff in here. Obviously, it's got shelf life, so there's all kinds of extra stuff in here. But the big stuff: paprika, garlic, salt. So when I went pretty heavy there. I like to be pretty cautious with these pre-made seasonings because they can really salt up the dish, and that andouille is going to have a lot of salt in there too. So I'm just shaking it and taste it. I already got.
Was that the first time, Ali? Was that the first time in this process you added the Creole seasoning?
It was on the shrimp as well.
It was on the shrimp. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and a very light dusting.
Okay.
As rad as this is, as delicious as this is, now we're going to add that shrimp stock.
Here we go.
And
I was wondering if this was
This is the freaking game changer. I'm going to do a quarter cup at a time, mostly because I don't want to overwhelm it. I want to make sure the consistency is there. And it's a lot easier to add a little bit as you go. So now you can kind of see, look, it's just a matter of letting that all heat up. I'm taking all these brown bits, right, all around, and just stirring it. This, gentlemen, this is
that looks so good.
And it's, it's funny, especially with that, the shrimp stock does take it to another level. And I did use some of this seasoning in the shrimp stock, too. So, yeah, the first batch I made, it's a little salty. The cocktail made it all good. It was all fine. It was just kind of a good, salty, salt-forward dish. Like when you finish eating a bag of potato chips and you're like, whoa, that's got some salt in it.
Right.
It didn't kill it, but now I'm just kind of going gingerly. And again, this whole dish, look, dude, this is it. That's all you're doing. This is all you're doing. You're just creating some kind of sauce,
that looks so good.
It's rad. I might, just to make a little more, just add it. And this is the cool part. You just kind of tweak it as you want. You're just making a pan sauce. It's just the ingredients happen to be freaking a dish people love making down in New Orleans, man. So, good combo.
That's looking really good.
It's rad. It's so good. Now we're going to add all this stuff. The andouille and the shrimp's going to go back in.
Love it.
Okay? It's so rad. All those juices kind of collect. Get it all in there.
Get it in there.
Okay? Now, my shrimp. Oh, dude. Come on. Let me tell you, it's a lot cheaper than going out.
Incredible, Ali.
Dude,
that looks amazing.
Looks so good. You know, the fun part about Creole and Cajun is from this, you can actually create 2 or 3 different dishes. You can start with the roux and make an étouffée. You can add, is it fila? What's that powder?
Yeah, filet.
Yeah, filet. Yeah, and it's a jambalaya. Just a few tweaks here and there, and you got a completely different recipe.
I didn't do this last time, but depending on how you want the shrimp, you can put the lid down, keep the heat to low, keep an eye on time. I'm just going to set a little thing to remind myself because I'm in Chatterbox. 3 minutes. And I'm eyeballing it. But I do want that shrimp to be cooked through. This is a dish where it's like, you got the sausage that's fully cooked and concentrated. Just let it kind of all build up. Plus, that steam's going to build, give it a little bit more body to the sauce. But swear to God, gentlemen, Creole seasoning, the Holy Trinity. And one thing with the andouille, you're not just adding savory meat, you're adding all the seasoning in the andouille. So lots of flavor.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to add too, I think is super important when I was researching this dish, I use 2 kinds of tomatoes, fresh and the canned, right? Why use canned tomatoes? More concentrated flavor, especially when you get the imported Italian stuff. They're always good quality. I mean, canning is about going, we can't have tomatoes year round. Let's harvest them when they're in peak and can them. And if you're buying expensive canned tomatoes, they're probably good tomatoes, right? And that's what I always do.
Yep.
When you add the fresh tomato, there's none of that umami tomato paste jamminess taste. And I wanted to be careful that this dish didn't go too much like red sauce Italian marinara. Like when I think of marinara, I'm like, dude, lots of tomato paste. Even though there is Italian influence, that's why I wanted to do the fresh tomato. Give the sauce body, but not too much jammy punch,
What's the traditional way of serving this, and then how did you serve it when you were playing around?
Last night when it was kind of funny because last night was sushi night and I was just practicing this anyway. So I had a Las Vegas buffet experience last night. I was like, what else can I eat right now? I'm having freaking shrimp creole and yellowtail. But look, and this has kind of been my MO. I've been trying to eat a lot more whole grains, and I found an amazing recipe for doing brown rice in the Instant Pot where it comes out al dente. Probably since I'm making Creole food, I should probably add to the fact that I am the worst Indian because I don't know how to cook rice. I should have my card revoked. So I suck at making rice. I have a crappy rice cooker. Then one day I cook brown rice in the Instant Pot, and it comes out so freaking al dente that I had it with brown rice, and it goes in with my kind of dietary goals. It's great. So you want to have it over rice.
Oh, good.
If you can get good Carolina grain rice, don't, people kind of go, oh, I'll just grab freaking instant rice. No, don't do that. Go for a rice, go for a grain. And I'll just say this, the brown rice I do in an Instant Pot comes out so freaking al dente that it wasn't regrettable. So I just hit my timer. I'm removing this. The sauce is built up with that moisture. The shrimp's totally, because of that steam, it's nice to just cook through. It could go in a little bit more, but what is nice is I've got time to kind of play. I really like that sauce, but I will tell you one thing.
Salt? No.
No, salt's good. I mean, that's one good season. I'm just going to add a little more butter in there.
Okay.
Just cut. I mean, just a little. I don't cook with butter a lot, but, if you're making a sauce, it's such a great fat to kind of make that sauce behave. Guys, this is
that,
a bomb, bro. I wish you guys
for the shine?
Because it's, and I shouldn't be eating this too much, but it's freaking.
Hey, that extra thing of butter, was that for the color of the sauce or just to cream it out a little bit?
For body. For body and taste. The shrimp stock really is a game changer. And I did that on a whim. But I was like, because there's lots of ways to do it. There's lots of ways to do it. But the shrimp stock, the whole thing was, and that's why I was like, we got to get to building this thing. I'm gonna kill the heat. I'm gonna just show it off. It's so dope.
Wow.
Yes.
Like, I want to. Come on, baby.
Wow.
I want that right
it's
now.
Radical. This whole thing is just like building the flavors in the pan. The two kinds of tomatoes. It's different. It's not the same as like, oh, let me just grab some marinara. No. Like, you want to just kind of really pick and choose those right things, those little extra things really make a difference. And the shrimp stock, game changer. Total game changer. It doesn't need the andouille. It's just in there. You know what I mean? It's just in there.
Yeah. But it's better.
And
that's the best part about New Orleans cooking. The flavors are intense. They're not shy.
If you don't like this food, there's something wrong with you. And I also say this, as I made this for the first time yesterday and just in love with making it, it really strikes me as like the kinds of foods my mother, who is very kind of a picky person who grew up eating Bangladeshi food, very distinct, strong flavored curries and stuff like that. She always loved Cajun food. Like this stuff just, like, what's up? Oh, oh, my nose is broke. That's what happens when you taste this stuff. You're like, what's that wet? That's my own blood. You know what I mean? This food, it just hits you. So I do want to bring this up because I'm going to tail it all off. But I had the French 75 with it. So I made the dish. Then I made the cocktail, right? Of course, as soon as I made the cocktail, I had to sip. God's honest, I was like, nah, not really my thing. Kind of like when you drink the weird beer. I don't want to be stuck with this. Beer. It's like the pumpkin beer that's still in my fridge.
Right.
Hey, everyone knows what that is. Yeah.
Anyone that's made it this far, we have an episode on Eat This, Drink That of how to make a French 75. We also have an episode talking about our craft beers going too far with the crazy flavors. So that's what Ollie is referencing right now is crazy beers. And then our French 75 episode. So he paired that with this dish just to get everyone up to date.
So when I had the French 75 on its own, I was like, meh, not really my thing. However, when I started eating this, that cocktail actually helped. Because this is a punch in the nose. I'm just tasting it off the spoon. It's a punch in the nose. Yeah. The cocktail helps drive you through that dish. It really is the power of what this is. Like, you know what? This is good on its own. French 75, maybe it's for you, maybe it's for not. In a way, it really wasn't for me. Together, completely different experience. Yeah. Changed all this. Like, Amazing. It made me realize, like, how that cocktail is so great for any rich, heavy dish. It made me think of, like, why Indian food and beer is kind of a bad idea, because, like, the rice, the suds. Yeah, but a French 75 and a rich, flavorful dish like this, all day. That's all I got to say. French 75, Shrimp Creole. Do it.
Wow.
So that's a fun point. For this dish, there's a variety of things you can do. We also did some recipes for a Sazerac, a Vue Carré, other French-themed cocktails. Those would not go very well with this dish. The French 75, because of the champagne, the citrus from the lemon, the cognac, the depth of flavor from the cognac, it just pairs so well with this dish. But you can also do champagne. You can also go old world whites like German Riesling, Austrian Gruner Veltliner, stuff that has maybe a little bit of sweetness to go with the spice.
Seems like you need something to cut through yeah.
You know, it's interesting too, because that French 75, that's a drink that's served up for a reason. It'll kick your ass. I had two, and I was like, oh my God, I think I'm done. And this dish kicks your ass too. Like, this dish kicks your flavor, taste buds. It kicks your ass. You know, it's a punch in the nose. And that drink's a punch in the nose. But together, it's like, I feel strong, you know?
Ollie, Ollie, what do you think is the main thing that's punching you in the nose about this dish? Is it the seasoning? Like what is going on with that description?
Honestly, the sauce you create is so intense. Like you've
Maybe
got
the green peppers,
a bite of the but it becomes a vehicle. It's like, oh, I can tell you, oh, this seasoning is strong. Sure, I mean, there's cayenne in here too. There's good shrimpiness, from that stock, but really it's getting all this stuff and squeezing it into a liquid. When I was making this shrimp stock, you brown the shrimp shells and then you pour in the water and you let it like simmer for like 7 minutes, right? I had this potato masher and I'm pushing down in the pot. Make sure those freaking shells, like I'm squeezing them to get that stuff out. That's what this dish is I took all these different things and I just squeezed the flavor out. And if you could kind of think about where this dish's origins are, in New Orleans, immigrants from different places, using the ingredients he had, trying to create as much flavor, trying to create dishes and changing however the original was based on the current circumstance. I mean, it's just you're not going to get this much flavor off of any one protein. What you create in this sauce, it blows away like filet mignon. Boring. Now I'll tell you this. I did think about, if I had just done plain shrimp Creole, I did think about what if I topped it on steak. But then, that might be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's just so much amazing flavor. But you could go roux, and you could have, so this is like tomatoey and spicy and more intense. I add that butter to chill it out. But you could go roux. I just hope people make it, because making it is
I'm going to make it this week.
Do yourself a favor for yourself. Make it.
Wow. Amazing. Steve, any other insights, Steve, you might have as a accomplished chef yourself? Anything that you might put a twist on? Or
I love the addition of andouille. The shrimp stock was really a pretty big revelation. It's easy to make shrimp stock, and the addition of the flavor, the depth, like Ali was saying, squeezing everything into that sauce. All a sauce really is just adding layers of flavor and depth. And that dish looks like it has a lot of depth.
I got to tell you too, the last time I did this yesterday, I had more of a brown. This time I was like not quite as brown. The shrimp though is so buttery, because it's a little, when it gets rubbery, dude, I don't know. I'm so floored. I made this not more than 24 hours ago for the first time, and I'm just in love with it. I'm gushing about Shrimp Creole. Do it.
Yes. Hey, one last question. For the French 75, did you use a Champagne Brut or a Champagne Blanc de Blanc Brut?
You were recommending Blanc.
Always testing me.
Blanc de Blanc.
Yeah, a Blanc de Blanc.
So that's Steve's recommendation.
So, yeah, and all it really is just a little more acidity coming through that drink. You already have lemon, so you got some piercing acidity. But the difference between a Blanc de Blanc and a Brut that has all three grape varietals, it's the acidity, that linear flavor comes from Blanc de Blanc. I don't know. I think it just makes the French 75, and with all the flavor and fat that's in that dish, that acidity is really going to cut through it and make everything.
I think this is a dish that would overwhelm so many beverages, even, to be honest, some that you mentioned, and that drink can literally, two of them put me on my ass, but together it's so strong. Like I can't, like, this is really good food, right? But you have that French 75 and it's a whole other, dude, I did New Orleans for 2 weeks, but I didn't do it all the way. Doing this with the French 75 is doing New Orleans right. In your head. I don't know. I'll sell you a car. What else do you want to do? But it's so good. So good. Supermarket ingredients, too.
Love it, Ali.
And so
Love it.
I got a quick question. So serving this, you said with brown rice is an option.
Over
Any
rice.
other
Over rice.
over rice? That's the way to go.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you could do grits too. To be honest, polenta. That would be. I love shrimp and grits is great too. I feel like rice is usually the way it would go. You know, because the one thing is you know, look, I love having the bites of the sausage and the shrimp, but it's this, man. I mean, it's that pepper cooked down, so soft, like
yeah.
Right. I'm thinking I want that with the rice a little bit or something.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. For sure. You know, those grains will get in there. I would just say this is like the only thing that would ruin it at this point is cooking rice in my shitty rice cooker. So believe me, the Instant Pot's rad. God damn. Yeah, I'm proud of this dish. It's amazing. And the shrimp stock was next level. That's doing a pro.
Amazing, Ollie. Thank you so much for this.
Dude.
Thank you.
I hope the viewers learned something. I learned something. Even Steve learned something with the shrimp stock. Right?
Yep, I love it. I'm making it this week. I'm eating etouffee all week.
So good. Awesome.
Ollie bringing us.
Or sorry, not etouffee.
Whatever you got.
Shrimp Creole.
Ollie bringing us the sauce this week with his first food dish in a while. We've been doing cocktails, and Ollie just came out swinging right with the baseball season starting up.
Guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
So
Oof, so good.
Thank you so much. Any final notes, Ollie? You killed it.
You know, I just encourage everybody. You know, we'll share the ingredients of it. You know, I got everything in the supermarket, you know, so I wanted to make sure that this isn't totally overwhelming to do. You can cook this on a weeknight if you've got everything laid out and stuff. But, you know, like, definitely give this thing a whirl. Give this thing a whirl. You can get all this stuff in the supermarket. Make the shrimp stock, though. Make the shrimp stock. And also, here's a little word of advice. Don't buy cheap shrimp. I mean, you don't have to buy the $1 million shrimp, but buy the ones that like 20 of them equals a pound. Because if you're peeling and deveining 36-count shrimp, you're going to be like, what am I doing with my life? And you saved like, honestly, you spent $12 for a pound of shrimp, or you spent like $7 in an hour and a half of your time.
$5 different, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, don't waste your time. But make that shrimp stock.
Cool. Thank you guys. Ollie, incredible episode of Shrimp Creole. Thank you so much for, I love the angle in your kitchen too. We're switching it up this week. So very effective. And thank you again, Ollie.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right.
Damn, this is good.
We're out of here.
See you guys.